it's kind of a weird feeling to be like everyone is only playing 5 games right now.
They are though.
It's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, I saw an image and it was like, going between like NES, late NES to like N64 in a span of 8 years, and then just showing people like still playing Fortnite actually. That's
Yeah,
what I've
right.
been
Yeah, yeah,
doing
yeah.
this whole time. Like, it's kind of uncomfortable. And it's just sad because it's like, yeah, those games are fun for the social aspect,
Yeah.
but like we got to play so many different amazing games all of the time. Games were coming out like every month, just everywhere. And it just kind of ground down to a halt. For me, the pivotal moment is when Skyrim came out. It was like Skyrim comes out, and then I feel like it just kind of like, I imagine it's just kind of like a knife and like cloth, and like there's still stuff pulling this way, but Skyrim holds strong, and then everything changes. And then like games don't come out as fast anymore, and then like the new generation kind of
Yeah.
sucks, and then it's just like, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it was like that PS those last like mid generation to the end of the 360 era. It was like yeah, Skyrim was like Skyrim and Dark Souls, and I mean that's when I got back into games. Was those 2 games got me really back into video games in a way that I hadn't been for several years. And then it felt really good for a couple of years there. It was like 2 or 3 years where I was like finding all this new stuff, and it wasn't just
I was
indies either. It was
catching
like
up at that time on
yeah,
games. I was
and
like,
then it
because
was
Dark Souls kind of unlocked things in me as well,
yeah,
and I was kind of already rediscovering Nintendo at that time, and so it just like
hmm
I was like trying all sorts of different kind of games again after I gotten burnt out playing like just Halo for 5 years. So
right, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I think it was like the PS4. I was into it for a while, and I really liked it. Um, but it was towards the middle part of that generation, and for me, I think it was around Dark Souls 3 was when I realized that I was like something is slightly different here, and I
mm,
started feeling a little bit like not like disappointed, but like that like so many games like Dark Souls and stuff like that, like didn't feel special anymore. And then the
yeah,
Switch dropped and Breath of the Wild dropped, and like that was like that got me back in such a big way,
yeah, yeah.
like life changing, literally life changing. Like I all of a sudden I played games more than I had since I was like 12 or something.
I liked playing games on the Switch even when they were objectively worse than other options that were
hmm
available to me, just because I was a fan of the system and how easy it was. And
Dude,
I liked that I could get games on cartridge.
it it felt both like a throwback and like a completely new thing.
Mm.
And like I don't know, there's just something I think it's hard to it's I think I feel like really lucky about the Switch and Breath of the Wild and a lot of those like the first like half of the Switch's lifespan. I feel really lucky that that existed at a time in my life where I normally would have thought like my ability to have a life-changing video game experience but it was already long over.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like it was like cuz that was 2017, right? That's when that dropped. Was
Yes.
2017?
March 3rd or
Right, right,
4th, I
right.
think. I think it's March
Okay,
3rd,
so
2017.
I was 26 when that dropped, right? Cuz I'm old as fuck. And so I'm like I was like,
I think
okay,
we're
like
maybe the same age or something. You might be a year younger, maybe a year older.
I think I'm older. I think I'm a year older.
Okay.
Maybe two, maybe even two, like a year and a half, like or something like that. But
Okay.
so
So you were born in like 2000.
yeah, 2001 actually.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, but just the I at that time in my life, I was full time at Digital Trends, but I wasn't really writing about games, and
Mhm.
like um I was really trying to get more into that side of the website, and it was sort of successful or whatever. But there was also this feeling of like I was starting to like wonder like how much longer in my life am I going to play video games? And then those two things happened, like the Switch and well, I mean, the first thing was Breath of the Wild because I borrowed my friend's Wii U and I played it on the Wii U tablet. I played the entire game on the tablet.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And then I got the Switch. The day I beat Breath of the Wild on the tablet, like that afternoon, my Switch showed up, and I immediately started the Switch version. And then I put 100 hours into that one. That was the one. That was a playthrough where I did every shrine and every whatever. We're supposed to talk about
even.
Yeah. No, not every Korok seed.
I never did it. I probably will with the Switch too.
I think I did 400. Actually, so that I mean, this is probably another segment that we were supposed to talk about. I'm just going.
Oh no, none of these are having anything to do with those. This is just
okay.
Shooting the shit, really.
Well, because I was going to bring some of this up, and when also feel free to tell me to like time out or if you, we got to like.
No.
Whatever.
I'm just letting you go, man. This is great.
Okay, because I don't want to keep you up late either. Like I know it's like
dude, I'm fine. I'm totally good. It's the weekend.
Okay.
Jason and I will shoot these up to like we'll be up till 3 a.m, man.
Okay,
that's tough. Like if it starts getting that late, maybe sometimes the tier list we can get a little carried away.
Yeah, and so like I mean if. I want to get to those other segments and stuff too. So I don't.
Yeah, we will. But we're just talking about the Switch One, and that's related to what we do.
I mean, and that's the thing is like we're what like.
You said something though. You said something about you didn't even know how long you were going to still play video games. Yeah. That's never been a question for me. I feel like with anything that I've ever liked, my opinion on when I'm going to stop or how long I'm going to do it is like fucking forever, man. I'm never stopping.
I'm really, and I mean this sincerely. I am very envious of that. Yeah, because like I really, this last week I went through it.
Really,
not with games, but with So Michelle and we met like you know the story, right?
I don't think I do.
We met in
I know the story of how you got married, but I don't think I know the story about how you met.
So we met. Are you familiar with the band Converge?
Yeah.
We met in the pit at a Converge show.
Awesome.
And so like I've always been into like metal and hardcore and stuff, and like that was it still is such a big part of my life and who I am and like how I relate to the world and. So, but I haven't been to many live shows since post lockdowns, and I've been feeling really weird about it because I've been wanting to go back to some of them, but I was like, yeah, okay, like, is the dude in his 30s who's starting to get some gray hairs? Is he like, should I be going to shows? Should I be doing that, or are people like I don't really have like I'm not really in the scene locally anymore really like I don't know people who are going to shows as much anymore and I don't want to like so I was getting really in my head about it and ultimately it came around to me being like I can just do whatever the fuck I want, it doesn't matter, like who cares?
No, just do whatever you want, man.
I think it has to do with a lot of stuff like my upbringing and like previous relationships and things like that where
I think upbringing definitely has a role to play. Like I feel like some of my friends for some time would be like, well, obviously I'm not going to be playing games forever or like doing stuff, and I'm like, I think that's like your dad talking, man. Like I think that's an expectation that was placed on you that these are things that are for children, and like why would you stop doing something you so obviously enjoy just because you feel like you're supposed to, or are you? I don't know. So I get feeling awkward when you're going to do something you haven't done in a long time, though. That's a separate feeling from feeling like, do I want to or not? That's a different question.
Yeah, and I think with games, a lot of that went away with I remember vividly the day that Breath of the Wild came out. I was so excited.
Yeah.
I haven't been excited for a game. Well, that's not true. I've been excited for a lot of games since then. I was
Mm-hmm.
so excited for the Final Fantasy VII remake. I was so excited. Like there's games that have since then have like been incredibly excited for. Even Elden Ring. Like as much as you and I both have different opinions from most
Yeah.
people about that game.
Yeah.
The lead up to it, I was really excited for it. But Breath of the Wild was so I like the way that I felt about that game was so singular and incredible. And I remember being on the bus on the way home from work and thinking to myself, this is probably the last video game I'm ever gonna play.
Oh.
Not because I thought like it was going to like nothing would be better or anything like that, but I was like in my head I was like, this is such a good way for me to send off this hobby that I am no longer allowed to do soon. And
So
I
you
don't
felt
know.
that for real? You felt like you were being boxed out by age,
Yeah.
or just where you were at?
Age specifically.
Age.
And I don't know why I thought that. Like one of my biggest like I don't say like role models or heroes, but just someone I really admire is Jeff Gersman. The dude's like almost in his 50s now, and he's still just he sits in front of a camera and talks about video games for like 3 hours every day. Like, and that he loves that stuff. So I don't know where it came from. I mean, I'm sure we could dig into it, and like I said, upbringing and previous relationships and or
Yeah, just lay
friendships
down
even.
on the couch. You know,
You're
I'll
right,
get
yeah.
like my little. I'll start taking notes. Yeah.
Well, and I used to hide how much I liked video games from people. I was way more comfortable like talking about music and stuff. And
Yeah,
like
it's more acceptable. I understand a little bit of where you're coming from there. Like everyone talks about music.
yeah,
Like that's part of being human.
yeah. And like I was always walking around in band t-shirts. My career started writing album reviews and writing show reviews and stuff. Like that's how I started writing.
Digital trends or
No, this is for like smaller like blogs and
Okay.
local magazines and stuff. So like one of the biggest shows I got to review, and my friend photographed it too, was a Mastodon show at the Portland Roseland. It was for a magazine in Seattle, but for some reason they commissioned me to do the review. But yeah,
That's
I
awesome.
mean, yeah, and that was stuff that like I always when people would ask in the back of my head, they'd be like, "So what do you want to do? Like what's your career goals?" I'd say, I want to write about music, or I want to write about technology." But in the back of my head, I'm like, I want to write about video games. Like this is that other
Yeah.
stuff is cool, but like I want to
It's
do
like,
video
yeah,
games, but
a little nugget, and you don't quite want to reveal that like that's your thing because it might kill it or it's too fragile.
yeah, well,
Um,
and I didn't have friends in high school who liked video games, really.
okay.
I had friends, all of my friends were like, were into like skating, or music. So like everyone I was hanging out with, like, I never really got into skating. I was never very good at it. One of my biggest regrets in my life is that I never learned how to do a kickflip, but that's a different topic. But we all hung out and we listened to the same music. We went to shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But like the thing I did when I would go home was I would like play games or read about them in magazines or on the internet or whatever, listen to podcasts. So it was always like this thing I felt like I was hiding.
Do you have Game Informer?
I had Game Informer, PC Gamer, and for a long time when I was younger, like the first one that we ever had a subscription to was Game Pro. So
Game Pro.
yeah. So those were like the ones, and honestly, it was reading PC Gamer's review of the original Knights of the Old Republic. That was when I was like, I think I want to do this, man.
Yeah.
Like I think this is what I want to do for a career. But anyway, after beating Breath of the Wild, and being able to play stuff like Doom 2016 on the Switch,
Yeah.
and then playing Mario Odyssey, which I'm not a huge Mario guy, which we'll talk about. Um, but all this other stuff, I just started playing games again, and I could sit there and I turned the Switch on for 20 minutes while something else was happening, and I was waiting.
Mhm.
Like let's say Michelle and I were gonna go out for dinner or something, and I had
Mhm.
10 minutes before. I'd sit there, I'd fire it up for 10 minutes, play Breath of the Wild, put it away. It wasn't this like huge thing that I had to like dedicate an hour and a half to every time I wanted to play a
Yeah,
game,
like
right?
it's not a big deal. It just kind of seamlessly integrates into your life.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
that sense of like I at the end of that year, I passionately fought to make it Digital Trends gadget of the year, and it won because of that. Because I was like, you guys don't understand. Like, it is incredible. It's changed my life. And like that was when like it was getting like sevens and stuff in reviews. Like it was reviewing okay, but people weren't like fawning
Yeah.
over it.
I kind of
And
understand a little bit just in like just how it sits and puts together, and it's a little. I honestly think the Switch 2 is a much better refinement. I think the Switch
I
2
think it looks
looks
great.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
I think it's probably perfect. The magnets perfect. The look of everything. I think it's, and the OLED honestly probably reviewed a lot better because it felt more premium. The Switch did feel a little cheap. The screen scratching, like I can understand the 7 out of 10, but it's the kind of thing that you can't really review until you've had it for a year.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I mean, hardware especially, like you need to interface with it for longer than a review period to
Yeah.
really know, especially something that was so, I mean, it wasn't radically different on paper, but like conceptually, it was so like Nintendo had not done something like we're just gonna do one thing,
Yeah.
and it's gonna do both of what we used to do, and that was such
For
a
a
big
little
deal.
bit, that output in the games that they were putting out almost matched like two systems, but then it slowed down to just one, sadly, by the end.
And I think
Yeah.
that's kind of what I meant when I said like that first half, even the first
The
third,
first half was amazing, dude.
so
I
good.
feel like the pivotal turning point for me was after Fire Emblem Three Houses came out and everyone was playing that game. It was kind of a little while before it felt like we got. I think that was kind of just like that's the end of the first half for me. Even though it came out in 2019, those first 2 years were just so stacked.
Yeah,
Like when I'm thinking about like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, Splatoon 2. I think the first Mario Party had come out by now, and then Fire Emblem came out. The Smash had already come out.
yeah. I was
And
gonna say,
then after that, it was kind of like waiting for more Smash characters. Then there was Splatoon 3, but it's not the same, like Impact. And then eventually we got sequels with like Tears of the Kingdom, but that's a whole other thing, you know?
yeah, yeah. That first, and that like you expand that out to like third party and indie stuff.
The
That
indies
was
carried it.
it carried
Such
it
a good system
absolutely,
for indies.
and like so you had this like I put so much time and have so many games on the Switch. Um, like it rivals what I have on Steam, and I've had Steam for like 14 years, you know? So it's really actually longer than that. I think actually I'm up to 20 years on Steam now if I go check. Because I got it, I had Half-Life 2 on like the launch window, and so
Yeah.
I've had it for a long time.
20 years.
Actually, let me see. I want to see.
Yeah, we need to see this. We need to fact check this real quick.
View my profile. Yep, I got my 20 year of service. It'll be 21 in December. So I've been a member since Christmas of 2004.
That's so crazy. 2004.
Yep,
Twilight Princess wasn't even out, man.
I know.
That's
Yep.
crazy. Jeff Gerstmann hadn't gotten in trouble for giving it an 8.8.
Yeah.